Chapter 1. Discipline is the foundation of freedom. We live in a world that glorifies freedom, freedom of choice, freedom of speech, freedom to be whoever you want. But there's a paradox that modern life often overlooks. True freedom begins with discipline. The Stoics understood this long before modern psychology or self-help books. Epictetus, born a slave and later a philosopher, spoke endlessly about the importance of self-control. To him, a man ruled by impulse was a man still in chains. Discipline isn't about punishment, it's about direction. It's about showing up, even when you don't feel like it. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't need to rely on motivation, because you've built something stronger: habit, clarity, and character. In today's world, where distractions are endless and convenience is king, discipline becomes your superpower. It's what keeps you grounded when emotions flare up. It's what helps you say no when everyone else is saying yes. It's what allows you to wake up day after day and build a life you're proud of. And the most powerful part, discipline isn't something you're born with. It's something you choose, moment by moment, decision by decision. So if you're feeling lost or stuck, don't start with your goals. Start with your habits. Start with your discipline, because freedom without structure is chaos. And discipline? It's the blueprint for greatness. Chapter 2. The War Within. Resisting the easy path. Discipline doesn't start in the gym, at your desk, or in your morning routine. It starts in the mind, in the quiet tug of war between what you want now and what you want most. And let's be honest, it's easier to scroll than to study. It's easier to sleep in than to show up. It's easier to say tomorrow than to say today. Every day, you face that internal battle. You wake up and your comfort whispers, stay in bed. Your vision for yourself whispers back, get up, move forward. This is where Stoicism gets raw. It's not poetic. It's not about looking wise on social media. It's about standing in that moment, when your lesser self shows up and saying, no, I don't serve you today. Epictetus said, no man is free who is not master of himself. Let that hit. You can have freedom of speech, freedom of movement, freedom of opportunity, but if you are a slave to impulse, distraction, and comfort, you are not free. Discipline is the act of choosing long-term liberation over short-term relief. It's not about punishment. It's not about perfection. It's about direction. It's the internal compass that keeps you from drifting into a life of mediocrity disguised as comfort. Think about this. How many times have you let distraction rob you of progress? How often do you know what you should do, but don't? How many dreams have been postponed by one more hit of dopamine? We all do it. But here's the shift. The Stoic doesn't let shame fester. They observe, they learn, and then they act. Let me tell you about Alex, a fictional composite, but his story is real to so many of us. Alex was in his late 20s, smart, creative, but stuck. Every night, he'd promise himself, tomorrow, I'll wake up early. I'll hit the gym, I'll work on my side hustle. But morning came, and so did snooze. The day passed, and so did opportunity. At night, guilt, resentment, Netflix, repeat. He wasn't lazy, he was lost in the loop of intention without execution. Until one day, Alex changed one thing. He stopped making promises and started making commitments. A promise is vague, emotional, fleeting. A commitment, it's a contract, even if it's just with yourself. So he made a rule. Every morning, I do the thing. No negotiations. And he did. For one day, then 2, then a week, then a month. Was it perfect? Number. But it was consistent, and that made all the difference. Discipline starts with small battles. You win those, and you change your story. This is where your war is, not with the world, with your own comfort, your own excuses, your own fear of failure. And the only weapon that works in that fight is discipline. Let's be clear, comfort is not your enemy. But comfort without boundaries is the enemy of your potential. So ask yourself right now, where am I letting comfort lead instead of commitment? What small daily negotiation am I consistently losing? What version of me am I feeding? The one I am, or the one I want to become? because that version of you, the future you, is waiting on the other side of 1,000 small decisions. And discipline is the path that leads you there. Chapter 3. Discipline over motivation. Why emotion will fail you. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is the firewood. One burns fast, the other burns long. If you've ever waited to feel ready before doing something hard, you already know. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the wind. One day, you feel like a lion. The next, you can't even answer an email. The Stoics understood this long before dopamine science was a thing. They didn't wait for good moods to act. They acted in spite of mood. They didn't serve their emotions. They trained their response to them. Seneca said, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." That includes the winds of motivation. If you don't have a direction, a purpose, even a gust of inspiration can take you nowhere. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel. It asks what you've committed to. Let's take a real-world example. You might know David Goggins, former Navy SEAL, ultramarathon runner, the embodiment of modern-day mental toughness. Does he run for 100 miles because he's motivated every day? Number. He runs because it's who he's chosen to be, because he's trained his brain to do what needs to be done, regardless of how he feels. That's Stoicism in motion. Now, you don't need to be Goggins, but you do need to understand this. Motivation is a luxury. Discipline is survival. Let's say you want to build something, a business, a skill, a new body, a more focused mind. You're going to hit resistance, guaranteed. Some days you'll feel it in your muscles, other days you'll feel it in your soul. On those days, you have two choices. Wait for motivation to come back, show up anyway. Discipline isn't about crushing every workout or writing the perfect chapter. It's about showing up when it would be easier not to. Let me introduce you to a fictional character that represents many of us, Jenna. Jenna works full-time, wants to write a novel, and also has a habit of burning out fast. She starts strong, a flurry of ideas, energy, routines. Then a bad day comes, or two, and suddenly she's weeks off track, wondering if she was ever serious at all. But something changed when Jenna stopped waiting for motivation to return. She wrote one paragraph on the hard days. She typed nonsense just to stay consistent. And strangely, something beautiful happened. The habits stopped, depending on how she felt, and the pages began to stack up. Discipline gives you compound growth. Motivation gives you a sugar high. So let's ground this in your reality. Here's a daily Stoic implementation plan for building discipline over motivation. Identify a keystone habit, something small but impactful, like waking up at the same time, 10 minutes of writing, or a cold shower. Create a non-negotiable rule. Make it clear. I do this every day, no matter what. Not if I feel like it, but because I said I would. Track your wins, not your perfection, your consistency. One line in a journal, one checkmark on a calendar. Tiny progress, acknowledged. Anticipate resistance. You will have days when your mind says, skip it. That's the signal to lean in, not pull back. Practice Stoic reframing. Don't ask, why do I feel this way? Ask, what would the disciplined version of me do right now? And here's the deeper Stoic truth. When you act without needing motivation, you become undeniable. You stop being ruled by emotion and become ruled by values. You stop chasing momentum and start becoming the kind of person who creates it. Discipline is self-respect in motion. So ask yourself, how often do I delay action, waiting for inspiration? What would happen if I replaced that delay with decision? Who could I become if I showed up no matter what? Because the future is not built by those who feel ready. It's built by those who act anyway. Chapter 4. The Stoic Blueprint for Building Daily Discipline. The Stoics weren't just thinkers, they were doers. They didn't sit in ivory towers theorizing virtue. They lived it, every day, especially when it was hard. That's what discipline really is. Not grand gestures, not Herculean effort, but simple, steady, daily action. Marcus Aurelius ran an empire, fought wars, buried children, endured illness. And still, each morning, he reminded himself in his journal, when you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. He trained his mind like a warrior trains his body, consistently, patiently, purposefully, and we can do the same. Here's a Stoic blueprint, not just philosophy, but a practical structure for cultivating real, grounded, sustainable discipline in your life. Step 1. Start with identity. Discipline doesn't last when it's built on punishment. It lasts when it's rooted in identity. Don't say, "I want to wake up early." Say, "I am the kind of person who rises before the world does, because clarity matters more to me than comfort." Don't say, "I should work out." Say, "I train because this body is a gift and it deserves strength." This is Stoic framing, anchoring action in values, not moods. When you align your discipline with your virtue, it sticks. Step 2. Define the discipline. Vague goals create vague results. Clarity creates momentum. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Write it down. Define it. What does discipline look like in your life? Is it waking at 6 a.m.? Is it 30 minutes of reading a day? Is it not touching your phone before breakfast? Be clear, then commit. Step 3. Ritual, not motivation. Build habits that are so structured you don't have to think about them. The Stoics used rituals, daily journaling, morning reflections, evening reviews. You can create your own. The morning frame. Ask, "What will I face today that could tempt me to stray from my path?" Answer, "How will I respond?" The evening audit. Ask, "Where did I act with discipline today? Where did I slip?" Answer, "What will I do differently tomorrow?" This creates feedback without judgment, growth without guilt. Step 4. Environmental mastery. Your willpower is not unlimited, but your environment can be a powerful ally. A Stoic controls what's controllable. That includes what surrounds them. Want to write more? Put your journal on your pillow. Want to eat better? Empty the pantry of your enemy. Want to avoid distraction? Delete the apps, block the sites, silence the noise. You can't control every thought, but you can control your proximity to temptation. Remove friction from the right things. Add friction to the wrong things. Step 5. Practice voluntary discomfort. Discipline thrives in discomfort, not masochism, intentional resistance. Seneca would practice poverty, sleeping on the floor, eating scraps, to remind himself that he could endure anything. Modern version? Take cold showers. Fast for clarity, not just health. Walk without your phone. Choose the stairs. Do the hard thing first. Every time you choose discomfort, you train your mind to obey you, not the other way around. Step 6. Make discipline visible. We are visual creatures. Momentum becomes real when we can see it. Create a streak tracker. Use a journal. Mark an X on your calendar. James Clear calls this the "don't break the chain" method. The Stoics didn't call it that, but they used the same concept. Marcus wrote, "Every day." That's how Meditations was born. It wasn't a book, it was a practice. Your practice doesn't need to be profound, it needs to be consistent. So ask yourself, what discipline matters most to me right now? How can I build a system around it, not just hope? What would my day look like if I designed it to serve my highest values? Because you don't become disciplined by accident, you become disciplined by design. And once you start living that way, with structure, intention, and clarity, you'll feel something the distracted world never does. Power, not over others, but over yourself. Chapter 5. Discipline and the emotional storm. Showing up when it hurts. It's easy to be disciplined when life is calm, when the mood is good, when the energy is high, when nothing is falling apart. But discipline, real discipline, is forged in discomfort. It's tested in grief, stress, heartbreak, uncertainty. It's the choice to show up, even when everything in you says, don't. The Stoics didn't pursue discipline because life was easy. They cultivated it because they knew suffering was inevitable. Marcus Aurelius buried his children. He led during a pandemic, through war, betrayal, and political chaos. And yet, every day, he returned to the page, to practice, to discipline. He didn't wait for peace, he became peace. Discipline isn't just for your goals, it's your shield when the world gets heavy. Let me tell you a true story. In 2017, NBA star DeMar DeRozan opened up publicly about his battle with depression. He was at the top of his game, athletic, wealthy, admired. But behind the scenes, he was unraveling. So what did he do? He kept showing up, to practice, to therapy, to conversations he once avoided. He said, "It's okay to not be okay." And then he kept doing the work, even when it hurt. That's discipline. Not the perfect highlight reel, but the raw daily decision to move forward. And here's the truth no one likes to say out loud. You're going to feel like quitting. Not once, but many times. You'll feel too tired, too broken, too behind. But those are the moments where your identity is shaped. Not in the sprints of energy, but in the slog of effort when emotion turns against you. This is where the Stoic asks, what does virtue require of me right now? Not what do I feel like doing, but what is the right thing to do, even if I don't feel like it? And that answer, that act, that's discipline in motion. Let's bring this into your world. Say you're going through heartbreak, or loss, or a stretch of burnout so deep you can't remember what energy felt like. Discipline might not mean pushing through like a machine. It might mean showing up differently, going for the walk even when your chest is heavy, writing one sentence even when your brain feels blank, sitting with your grief without self-destruction, making the appointment saying, "I need help," instead of disappearing. Stoicism doesn't deny emotion. It teaches you how to navigate it without being ruled by it. As Epictetus put it, difficulties show men what they are. Pain doesn't need to make you bitter. It can make you brave. Here's a reminder for when you're in the storm. You don't have to move fast. You just have to move forward. You don't need perfect discipline. You need consistent direction. You don't have to feel good. You just have to act with integrity. There's a version of you that exists beyond the storm. More grounded, more present, more sure of who you are. You don't get there by avoiding the pain. You get there by meeting it with discipline as your anchor. So ask yourself, when life hurts, how do I respond? Reactively or intentionally? What practices can I lean on when my emotions try to pull me off track? What does it look like to keep showing up, even broken? Because showing up broken is still showing up. And some of the strongest days you'll ever live will be the ones that don't look strong at all. Chapter 6. Final reflection. You become what you consistently choose. Every day you choose. You may not realize it, you may not write it down, but with every action or inaction, you're casting a vote for the person you're becoming. That's what discipline really is. Not a performance, not a flex, but a quiet, consistent choosing of who you want to be. The Stoics knew this. They didn't believe in fate the way we think of it. They believed in character, forged by habit, refined by action. Epictetus didn't say, "Think like the man you want to be." He said, "Act like him." Because when your behavior aligns with your highest self, clarity follows. When your choices reflect your values, confidence is automatic. And when your daily actions mirror your philosophy, you no longer chase purpose. You become purpose. Let's zoom out for a second. Look at your life like a mosaic. Each tile is a choice. Some tiles are messy, some are broken, some are missing. That's okay. What matters is the pattern you're building, not the perfection of any one moment. And that pattern is built on daily decisions, not epic ones, daily ones. Do I wake up when I said I would? Do I choose focus over distraction? Do I speak with courage when silence feels safer? Do I follow through when no one's watching? Each time you say yes, not to pressure, but to purpose, you strengthen the foundation of your identity. Discipline is self-trust in action. You stop needing motivation. You stop craving validation. You stop chasing a finish line that moves every time you reach it. Instead, you build something solid, a life you respect, a mind you trust, a spirit that's been tested and proven. And the most powerful part, you don't need anyone's permission. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need more inspiration. You already have what the Stoics had. A mind capable of clarity, a body capable of effort, able, capable of decision. So as we close this reflection, ask yourself, what are the small daily disciplines that align me with the person I want to be? Where have I outsourced responsibility to my emotions? And how can I reclaim that power? What identity am I reinforcing with the choices I make when no one's watching? Because that's where it all happens, in the quiet, in the repetition, in the space between who you've been and who you're willing to become. You don't need to change your whole life today. You need to decide, and then choose, again and again and again. Discipline is not something you wait for, it's something you step into. And the moment you do, you stop being a prisoner of potential and start becoming the kind of person who turns vision into reality. That is the Stoic way. That is your power, and that is your path forward.